Well, thanks for watching Numbskull News. And today, I want to talk about this double fries, no slaw guy. The college football addiction, which after his last video, he should change his name to the college football elitist because that's what he is. He's an elitist jerk off who doesn't, who makes a video just out of his poor emotions. He's getting all into his feels and has to make the damn video. So you put it out there, buddy. So I'm going to go ahead and comment on it. Now, here's the thing. I hate being the channel that craps on other channels. Okay? But when I see dumb shit, I'm going to comment on it. That's just who I am. All right, the last video I did that with 365 Sports. Did I unsubscribe from them? No. Do I still respect what they do? Yes. There's just some disappointing shit when it comes to that channel. And they have this elitist viewpoint on, I guess, what they would consider trash, people on YouTube talking about, or on Twitter, X, talking about realignment. I don't like that shit. There's two things as far as elitism, I don't like, and I will always comment on it. That's when you have somebody who thinks they're better than other content creators out here talking about this shit like it's really important, like it's earth-shattering and changing or something. It's not. This is sports, people. It's entertainment. Anybody can talk about it. Now, if you put comment out there that's dumb, you'll probably get called out on that, and that's fine. It's all fair. But everyone has the right to be a dumbass here on YouTube. I do, and everybody does. So there's no reason to make some arrogant freaking video about it. So I went after them. And I went after the Monty Show basically for the same thing. Don't like that crap. The second thing that I will do, that I will go after somebody for, is attacking my conference and being unwarranted. Be respectful. You can be truthful about it. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you how I can go after my own conference. I'm a Big 12 homer. I got Big 12 biases, right? The Big 12 will never catch the SEC and the Big 10 monetarily. Never. We don't have blue bloods. We don't recruit on that level. See how I told the truth there? The truth is not disrespectful. I'm not disrespecting my conference. I still see the positive things and the things I love about this conference. And I cannot wait for this year's football season to kick off. But, and I'm not talking to all, and by the way, I also want to make this very, very clear. There's a lot of really cool Florida State fans that I've ran into in my comments, that have watched my live streams and my videos. Y'all are cool people, man. Y'all are welcome here. I like you guys. And it's quite possible a lot of you watch Double Fries, No Slaw, college football, elitist. And that's fine. Everyone can watch what they want to watch. I'm not here to piss on you. But I will call shit out, bullshit, when I see bullshit. And Mr. Addiction / elitist, his last video was horseshit. And I'm not going to spend the time to break down his whole video like I do other people. I'm sorry. He's not big enough for that treatment. He's not 365 Sports. Hell, he's not Monty. All right? He's not that big a deal. So, let me just start off by saying what he was talking about. And by the way, he's perfectly within his rights to talk about Florida State. No way they're going to the Big 12. Clemson, no way they're coming to the Big 12. I don't think there's much of a way for us to come to the Big 12. Okay? I'm not in disagreement there. There's a way to go about it. And there's a way not to. Okay? So the way I feel about it, before all this reporting, whether it was Jason Shear, Ross Dillinger, Greg Flugar before them, Greg Swain before them, before all that stuff came out, I would have said 0% chance Florida State and Clemson. 0. After all that reporting, I'll give them a 5% chance of that happening. 5%. That's not exactly high. That's akin to a Lloyd Christmas Dumb and Dumber type of chance of that happening. But that's about all I give it. As a Big 12 fan with Big 12 bias, that's about all I'm going to give that. Now, Mr. College football addiction elitist, he says that Florida State and Clemson would go independent first or stay in the ACC till 2036 before going to the Big 12. You dumbass. No, they won't. Idiot. That's what I'm talking about. They're not even, they're such a low option that they would go independent before going to the Big 12. They wouldn't make the money independently. Let me tell you something. Florida State and Clemson, they're a big deal. They got a lot of value. They do. But they're not Notre Dame. Stop. Florida State is not Notre Dame. Let's be realistic about it. Let's pull in some reality to the shit that we're saying online. They're not Notre freaking Dame. They don't have the audience of that. Nationwide, worldwide, they don't have it. They're not going to go independent. They're not going to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of the ACC just to go independent. People act like that's some easy option. Oh, there's just money and independence waiting for you. If there was, the entire Big 12 would be independent. Every single solitary freaking school would be independent. If there was all kinds of money and all kinds of success waiting for you. There is not. BYU was independent for years. Not because they wanted to be, because they had to be. As soon as they got a chance to get into the Big 12, boom, they got in there. And for less money to start. I know it's just measly BYU. How dare I talk about BYU and Florida State in the same freaking sentence? Well, I did. Because it's also a university. It's also a national brand. Yes, maybe not a blue blood like Florida State clearly is. But just ask them how easy independence is. It is not. Get it out of your head that the people who actually run Florida State, the people who actually make the big decisions for Florida State, in which college football addiction doesn't have any sources in that realm. He said so in the video. He doesn't talk to Graham Neff or any of those people on that level. So who's he talking to? The janitor. I don't know. The guy who washes the jock straps. I don't know. He claims to have sources. Fine. And they're like, oh, absolutely no way. Well, none of them are decision makers. I don't give a damn what they got to say. Now, will they stay in the ACC till 2036? Mr. Double Fries No Slaw actually said, well, they'd be fine. They'd be fine till 2036 in the ACC. Then why do we have lawsuits, dumbass? Why are they filing lawsuits? Why are they doing everything they can, spending tens of millions of dollars, and probably by the end of it, hundreds of millions of dollars to get out of the ACC if they will be fine until 2036? Because they won't be fine. Because they won't be fine. Dumbass, it doesn't work like that. So this is where his emotions, and he actually told his audience, use your logic, use your reason. He's not. I mean, that's a basic thing. Why are you doing this? Going to court, dragging in ESPN, having all this shit going on to get out of the ACC if they'll be fine till 2036. Dipshit. Because they won't. It's the easiest. What an idiot. What an idiot. What an idiot. And let's not stop there. This is where his elitism comes into play. Big time. He spells it out. The perception of being in the Big 12 won't do. The FSU fan base, the Clemson fan base won't. There'll be a huge problem with that. Oh, they won't sully themselves. They don't want to sully themselves by going to the Big 12. They deserve more. You stupid son of a bitch. He's thinking in this alternate reality where the ACC was a good football conference for the last 10 years. It wasn't. I mean, this arrogant prick actually thinks the ACC conference was better than the Big 12 the last 10 years. No! Why? Because Clemson went on a great run, and they did. They did. One of the things that really helped that run was being in a worthless football conference. A piece of shit football conference. That's what the ACC has been. It's been the worst of all the major conferences. Hell, the American was a better football conference for several of those years. No, none of those teams could beat Clemson. Absolutely not. But no ACC team could either. For a while. Florida State has risen back to prominence, of course. But the ACC means so much that they are 13-0. ACC champs, and they get left out of the college football playoff, which to me was a complete screwing. It was BS. Florida State deserved that spot. But whether it's Alabama or it's Texas, neither one of them deserved to be in above Florida State. See what I'm getting at here? It's horse shit that they put in Texas, at the time a Big 12 team, above you. A Big 12 team that was one loss. They lost to Oklahoma, who didn't even play for a conference title, let alone get into a playoff. And then you look at FSU. FSU, no losses. None. Obliterated everybody. And then what? They get left out of the college football playoff for a one-loss Big 12 champion. A one-loss Big 12 champion. You tell me that you have the proper perspective of the Big 12. Apparently the CFP did not agree with you. That's all the evidence I need right there. The perception of the Big 12 is way different. Now you can easily say, well, that's because it was Texas. I thought Texas was a peer. That's, you want to make what your peers do. Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan. Those are your peers, right? Apparently not. Apparently, people think the perception is FSU is less than Texas, less than Alabama, not a peer. You're a blue blood, but not on the same level. And I know that's crazy. Texas hasn't won jack shit in a long time. Last year was the first year they made the playoffs in forever. Did they deserve to? Above Florida State? No, they didn't. They didn't. But they got there because the perception of Texas is that they're greater than the Seminoles. Period. End of story. I know you don't like it. And I know it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's the reality of the situation. It's where you find yourself. So he's Mr. Double Fries No Slaw is completely wrong on the perception of the Big 12. Sorry. And he's even going as far, right? Even going as far as Ross Dillinger is basically just throwing out propaganda for Brett Yormark. That's not what Ross Dillinger does. No part of his reporting have I ever got the feeling that he's just throwing out propaganda. He's trying to be very, very careful with this stuff. I respect, and I don't like the big national journalists that much, but Ross Dillinger does a pretty good job. I think pretty dependable. It seems like he tries to come at it with no biases, and I'm cool with that. Unlike the John Canzanos and the Wilners of the world, he's a little more straightforward. And then the dude wants to kick Jason Scheer straight in the crotch and act like, oh, well, he just guessed with the Pac-12 stuff. He just guessed? He just happened to guess that Colorado would be the first team out? He just, no. He had inside people. So Do I think Jason Shear knows everything that's going on with the ACC? No. And ACC teams? No. That's not what he reported on. He talked about inside the Big 12. People inside the Big 12. Probably people in Arizona. Who do they hear it from? Others. So when he says something like that, you should pay attention because he's a serious guy. Unlike you, who's making a video based on his feels. There's no way my team can ever go to the Big 12. You sound like a child filling their pull-up. This dude, I watch some of his content sometimes. I can't take him seriously anymore. He's just another elitist asshole out there. That's all Mr. College football double fries, no slaw guy is, which is unfortunate, because that's kind of a cool channel name. I always enjoyed the double fries, no slaw name. I thought that was kind of cool. College football addiction is stupid. College football elitist is more factually based. Now, there is some truth that he's talking about the financial aspect of things. How does that work? Now, if he had just went into that and stopped talking about perception or how he perceives the perception of the Big 12, which is like an elitist asshole. But if he wants to talk about the monetary part of it, see, that's where I have a problem with Florida State and Clemson coming to the Big 12. Because monetarily, you can't just say, oh, well, private equity, that'll do it. There's more to it than that. Like, what's the length of time here? Now, Mr. Addiction was like, they're going to be in the Big 12 till 2036. That's what it would have to be. Bullshit. Because our money, our value based on the CVC stuff, the private equity stuff, that has nothing to do with Florida State, nothing to do with Clemson. That has everything to do with the 16 current members. That's what our value is to that company, who we don't know if that's who we're going to go with or not. But that's their value, their valuation of the Big 12. Is they're saying we're worth double what we're getting right now. Without you, without Florida State, without Clemson. So no, you can come in for a few years and then leave when you can. Because that money isn't based on the other thing. That's just one thing he got wrong. One of the things, because he's an elitist prick, is why he got it wrong. What I do agree with is that how does a restructuring happen? And furthermore, would the other Big 12 presidents be cool with Florida State and Clemson making more, having unequal revenue share to have Florida State and Clemson? And I think that is a problem. Mr. Double Fries No Slaw is correct on that. If he would have spent way more time on that part, the monetary part, the actual important piece of this whole thing, instead of shitting on my conference with your perception bullshit, which is wrong. You had the UNC president talk about a merger between the ACC and the Big 12 before, tells you that it's wrong. The perception of the Big 12 has changed completely in the last year and a half. This is a serious conference now. And it is now, the perception is it's the third most important, the third power conference now. The number 3 in the nation. Not the ACC. Technically, with 2 blue bloods, they are bigger. But we know y'all are going to leave. You're going to get out. And because of that, because of the chaos that is causing, perception-wise, now the Big 12 is perceived to be bigger than y'all. Because we're stable. Sorry. It's just the truth of it. But instead of talking about the money part, he wanted to focus on being an elitist prick. So, thus I had to make a video talking about it because I can't stand elitist pricks. They drive me nuts. Especially when it involves my conference. It's one thing if you're telling the truth on us. It's one thing if you're talking about the monetary thing, how that's going to work, the length of the contract, whatever. All of that is a valid concern for FSU and Clemson fans coming in here. Like you want to go to one of the big 2. You think that's the ultimate place is do we really want to have this pit stop in the Big 12? And I get that. But let's don't bury the Big 12 in your video to talk about how you don't think that's going to happen. Because all that perception bullshit, all of that is in your own head. None of it backed up by any kind of facts. The exact opposite, I can throw facts at you and tell you that actually the Big 12 is a more important conference than the ACC. And it would not be a step down. It'd actually be a step up. And yes, in perception, it would be a step up. And here's something for all FSU and all Clemson fans. And let me readjust to say this. I respect you guys. I respect your programs. Hell of a lot of value there. That's why it's hard for me to see y'all coming to the Big 12. However, just because you want to go to the Big 10 doesn't mean you're going there. It doesn't mean they value you. The Big 10 does not need Florida State. The Big 10 does not need Clemson at all. At all. You're not the number one ad for them. That's Notre Dame. Sorry, it's just a bigger deal to them than you are. Has nothing to do with your education, your academic prowess, none of that crap. It has to do with brand value. You're not as valuable as Notre Dame. So they will leave you in the dust for Notre Dame. The talk about Notre Dame, well, if Notre Dame wants Stanford to go with them, guess what? Stanford's going to go with them. Because Notre Dame means that much more to the Big Ten than FSU or Clemson. You don't matter to them. You don't matter to the SEC either. They're just fine with 16 teams. They don't need you. They just got Texas. They just got Oklahoma. I'm sorry. You just saw it with the CFP as far as Texas versus FSU. Texas and Oklahoma are more valuable than Florida State and Clemson. It means more to have them. You want to talk about recruiting in Florida? Well, let me introduce you to recruiting in Texas. It's just more valuable. Everything about Texas is more valuable than Florida State or Clemson. And you add Oklahoma into the mix, it's not even... See what I'm saying? The SEC will keep trucking as one of the top conferences, making some of the top money in the nation. They don't need you. There's a lot of people probably in the SEC that don't even want you. Same thing with the Big Ten that don't want you. Plenty of people do. I think ESPN would love Florida State and Clemson to come into the SEC. I think that's what ESPN wants. I've been saying that for months upon months and upon months. I've been fighting everybody talking about Big Ten. Well, Big Ten has no say. ESPN has a say. Fox doesn't. See what I'm saying? ESPN's actually involved in the shit going on with the ACC, not Fox. Does that mean you won't end up in the Big Ten? No. But let's don't act. Look, this is important to you guys. It's not really that important to the Big Ten or to Fox. All right? You'd be a nice ad. I think they would all admit that. You would be a nice ad. They don't need you. You're not the backbone of a conference, not theirs. You wouldn't be the backbone of the SEC. No, far from it. You're a side dish there. You're a side dish on either one of those. And that's fine. You know, Oregon and Washington, they're side dishes. There's no problem with being a side dish. Hell, you can win the conference being a side dish. You can get into the playoffs and you can win a damn championship in those conferences being a side dish. But you're not Ohio State. You're not Michigan. You're not Alabama. You're not Georgia. You're not the backbone. You're not that important. You're valuable, just not that important. Get that through y'all's heads. Florida State and Clemson fans, those two programs, those two schools are incredibly important to you, but they're not important to everybody. They're just not. The world doesn't revolve around Florida State and Clemson. Right now, you're the big story. All right? But just because you're the big story does not mean you're the most important thing out there. You're not. Neither conference needs you. All right? Some people in those conferences may want you, some may not. I think the media companies would like to have you, but you're not a must add. You're not a have to have. It's none of that. It's good business for ESPN to want Florida State and Clemson, but it's not necessary business. It's not a have to thing. It's not survival. It's just good business. So keep the emotions in check. That's the most valuable thing you can take away from the college football moron, the college football elitist. Keep your emotions in check and keep the Big 12's name out of your mouth unless it's with some respect. You can tell the truth about it. You can say how it's not on the Big 2's level. It's not. There's a lot of things you can say about the Big 12 money situation that's truthful. And it's not the most positive or flattering thing to say. You don't have to blow smoke up the Big 12's ass. Up my ass. Up anybody's ass. But don't shit on the conference with negative BS that's untrue, unfounded, unfact-based. And be respectful about it. Don't say, well, the all due respect, screw yourself. No. With the all due respect, here's the truth. And we're not being arrogant about it. Just tell the truth, and that's it, and leave it there. If you do that, that perception argument fades away because it's unfounded and bullshit. Anyway, that's all I got on this crap, and I'll be back with some other crap later. Bye.